Hello, gamers. Welcome back to another episode of the Cuddlepunk Podcast. I am your host, the mastermind, the dumbest girl alive, Veronica Vex. With me today, she is one of the songwriters and the guitarist for Home Is Where. She is also part of the new Plastic Rose band. Home Is Where's new album, Hunting Season, comes out this Friday, the 23rd of May. Tilly Comorney from Home Is Where. Tilly, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. Every time that Home Is Where comes out with a new project, it's always really interesting to see where the concept is going to come from this time. Last time, the concept was had a lot of feelings like surrounding 9/11, and a lot of the concept of the record itself had to do with 9/11. This is a weird question to start off with, but do you worry that the kind of omnipresence of 9/11 jokes in Zoomer culture, I'm not going to say that I'm not guilty of it myself. I'm not going to say whether it's good or bad, but do you think that there's the general irony poisoning makes, I don't know, the record itself a little bit more difficult for I guess younger Zoomers to take seriously, just because we're so inundated with 9/11 bits and jokes at this point?
Uh, that's a good question, actually. I think the record itself, so, hmm. I think to answer your question, there's a lot of emo right now, uh, well, hold on. I'm thinking about this one
Take
because
your
this is a
time.
very, very good question. Um, No, I don't think it makes the concept any less serious per se. I think that especially in our world of emo right now, uh there's not necessarily a lot of full on concept albums that are happening in more modern fifth wave, at least that I see from my friends. Um but I think that most people, most listeners of this style of music are able to kind of read the room when a band is being serious versus when a band is being silly. I think we all have I think the idea of Zoomer humor uh, is also a reaction to trauma anyway. Um, and I think it just makes all of us better at being able to kind of parse the difference between humor and uh, a situation with a little bit more gravity to it, or a concept with a little bit more gravity to it. Um, so if anything, I think it probably helps it.
I know that one of the things that I love the most about Home Is Where is it feels like there isn't a ton of irony that's coming through in in the lyrics for the stuff. It feels like B is being most incredibly sincere and not straightforward necessarily, but being incredibly earnest through all of her lyrics and through the music as well. I feel like a lot of that comes from the fact that you guys are, especially on this most recent album, Hunting Season, there's a lot more of a country tinged influence coming in there, and it feels like you guys are pulling from earlier, more blatantly sincere country that was happening at that time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We're pulling a lot from also artists that mean a lot to us. A lot of our playlists that we listen to when we're on the road, when we're traveling all together, is a lot of older country, specifically Graham Parsons with Flying Burrito Brothers, as well as um, International Submarine Band, and a lot of other things, like a lot of Graham Parsons projects, the Birds. But anyways, it's yeah, we're definitely pulling not just necessarily influence and inspiration from those artists, but also uh, our sort of relationship to those artists, and the friend, the sort of camaraderie and togetherness that listening to that brings us, and kind of pulling from those memories as well to kind of inspire writing and the music and things like that. But yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right.
I know that I was reading the description of the album on Bandcamp to get ready for this interview, and it was stating that you and B had both moved away from the places that you were living in Florida, and it describes B as living a fairly like shut-in life where she's like not leaving her house for like long periods of time. I'm curious what your experiences were during the times where you were writing hunting season, and I guess how your relationship with B, how it was able, whether or not there any differences that may be between how y'all were living your lives at that point may have come across in the record.
That's a You've got great questions. Or like thought out questions.
I try my best.
Um, well, the writing of hunting season was during a transitional time where B was living in a place, and I was living in the Northeast, and then I moved up to New York for a short period of time for about 4 months. I lived in New York. I moved out of Florida, went to New York where I found some good friends that I decided it would be a good place for me to live. And it turned out it was not a good place for me to live. But during that time, B and I would drive up a little further north, past New York over to where B was, and we would write everything on acoustic, and we do that every other weekend or every weekend or so. Um, and it was for both of us a temporary place of living until we found different places to live. But I think our lives were in flux while we were writing, but the majority of the record kind of came together in the moments where all four of us were together while touring. We weren't necessarily writing the songs while we were touring. We wrote the songs in the Northeast together, but the lyrics and the concept came together while we were all together. So um, in terms of, I moved to Portland after living in New York because I didn't like how crazy New York is. B and I and everybody in the band are all from very more rural places, so New York City is insane. The complete 180 from that. So yeah, we've both moved to places since then. B's still living in a very rural place, and I'm living in Portland, which is a little bit sleepier than New York City, and I very much enjoy that.
That's really great to hear. I'm glad that y'all are in places where you feel safe and secure at this point. The
Yeah,
concept
totally.
the concept for hunting season is, it feels mountain goats esque in a way. I feel like that's how I could describe a lot of the concepts that you guys have been going through. 13 different songs about 13 different Elvis impersonators, all having gotten into the same car pileup and all of
Mm.
them dying. I I want to know. I need to know what the inspiration for the concept itself was.
Well, that would be the direct relation to Elvis would definitely be a question I would have to ask B, because that's one that I don't even know the answer to. But
I'll make sure to write
um,
it down and to ask B that question when I see you guys at Coachella next month.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That'd be great. But in terms of the inspiration of the record, the last record was like The Whaler was a lot more conceptual and more uh, kind of feelings based. It was dealing with denial and acceptance of, you know, of a acceptance of living in like a nightmare or whatever. Not to sound too melodramatic, but this record, Hunting Season, is a lot more about sort of uh, lived experiences. Like each of these songs have very real imagery of the place that we're from Florida, and the things we've done, the life experiences we've had. A lot of the relations to those Elvises and those different songs are in the lyrics are very directly things that we've done, experienced, or uh, have been a part of our lives in some way. So it's instead of a concept, well, there is a concept that strings it all together. I would honestly say that this is more of a lived experience, like a more of a live account than like the Whaler was, for example.
I think with the way a theme that can come across with both of the albums is something that I interviewed Miri from Pretty Bitter and Echo Astral last year, and um, Echo Astral's album Pink Balloons is a lot of it's all about like being furious at the world that you're in and daring to still imagine a world that is better in the future. There is that wistfulness, I think, that maybe that's the wrong term, but there is that longing for that better world that can also, I think, comes across a lot in the Whaler, and I can definitely hear it coming through in Hunting Season as well.
Yeah, I think hunting season is a lot more positive than the Whaler was. I think Whaler is definitely more of an acceptance than any sort of radical call to change like Echo Astral does. I love Echo Astral very much. They're all great, Miri, JL, all of them. Um, but yeah, hunting season is definitely a lot more of a positive record because it's more again, it's more lived experience, more personal. And I think that even though it's not like punk music per se, um, I think that the songs and the sound of them having a little bit more levity, a little bit more lightness to them, is something that we need because most shit is most music is pretty doomer right now. So it's nice to have uh, a different spectrum of emotions to look at, especially as trans people, or yeah,
That positivity is so specific for y'all. It almost it when I say that y'all sound 90s esque, it's that feeling of like kind of like less need to worry about, less stuff to worry about that there was in the 90s in a certain, like the main thing that came to mind when I heard the new record for the first time, and I mean this as a massive compliment, was Hootie and the Blowfish. Like
that's fun.
it's very like there's some like jam bandiness to this stuff where it feels like kind of party at the end of the world type thing.
The word jam makes a lot of sense. We kind of designed the record for the drums and the percussion to be able to just kind of jam. It's a little less orchestrated than the Whaler was. We also record everything live, so that means we go into the studio. Our engineer sets up the microphones and then clicks record. The tape starts to roll, and then we play the song, and then that's the song.
That
So
explains why you guys were able to record this album in 3 days.
we were able to record this album 3 days exactly. We had overdubs of some of our friends come and play like pedal steel and piano. But yeah, the core of it was recorded in 3 days. It was fast.
One of my a lyric that stuck out to me so much when listening to the new record, it's on Black Metal Mormon. So close to the happiest place on earth where champions go after the Super Bowl.
Mm,
I love that description of Florida. It remind because I listened to that lyric earlier today while also have flipping between that and watching you and B get interviewed a couple years ago from by Enough Music Chris,
mm.
and you're talking about like having the they're talking about Florida and having the state be like this whole like big thing and still having like Disney World be like in the middle and the symbolism of that and everything. I am from Massachusetts. I live in Chicago right now. I have loved Florida every single time that I have been there. Love seeing the beauty in Florida. It feels like y'all are trying to also show off the beauty of Florida to a certain extent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful place. It's a misunderstood place because of the politics, but that's not exactly representative of the people or the place itself. I think Disney is kind of a stain on Florida, but the 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 surrounding area, and I guess the sort of like magic that that Disney kind of inspires or whatever, especially when you're younger, is pretty cool. But yeah, for sure, Florida rocks. It's got well, it doesn't have everything, but the things it does got, it's got real good.
We're going to be having you talk in just a little bit about the stuff that Florida's got that's good. But before we get into that, I had one more thing that I wanted to ask you about, which is as we're recording this today, you announced a new disco project that you've got going on called the Plastic Rose Band, and I would love for you to be able to talk about that for a little bit because it seems so sick.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, the Plastic Rose Band is we decided on that name yesterday, so that's very fresh, but I think we're sticking with it. Um, I wanted to make an all like a band of all my friends, but all trans woman band of that celebrate life and sing songs about, happiness and things like that. I think the idea, not necessarily the like in the hippie ideology, but the idea of radical love is a form of protest in itself. Being able to smile and dance in the sort of the with all the sort of strife and hardship that we deal with already as trans people. It's nice to have a reminder that you can dance, and I see that present in a lot of electronic musicians, especially here in Portland, and I think it rocks. But I don't know how to do any of that stuff, so I wanted to do it in a setting with live instruments that I know, and I want to do it with as many friends as possible. So a five-piece all trans disco band seemed to make the most sense, and yeah, it's gonna be really fun. It's gonna be really cool. It's also a super group. We have Ellie from Swiss Army Wife, my friend Robin from who's a part of this sort of thing called Distant Colony, which hosts a lot of really cool folk shows across the Pacific Northwest. Kim from Names of Our Friends, if you're a screamo head, Names of Our Friends, and then Luna from a bunch of bands, Tarot Sun, and some other stuff. But anyways, yeah, it's a fun little super group, but it's dedicated to trans joy, and that's the vibe.
I cannot wait to hear more of that coming down the road. I know everybody
Thanks.
here can't wait to hear Hunting Season, the new album by Home Is Where, coming out May 23rd. When we've got Tilly from Home Is Where here. When we come back, she's going to be sharing 10 things that she loves about Florida in particular. We'll be right back with more of the Cuddlepunk Podcast. Welcome back to the Cuddlepunk Podcast. We are here with Tilly from Home Is Where. Home Is Where is from Florida. Tilly is from Florida. And we were just talking about how Florida does get a bad rep because of the politics and everything. And it is, in my opinion, and I want to help to give Florida a better name. Most of the time, I like to come up with bits. Sometimes I just let somebody talk about something that they really care about and that they're hyper focused on. So I asked Tilly to make a list of her 10 favorite restaurants in the state of Florida, and she's going to list them off and tell us a little bit about them.
Okay. Well, these are kind of in a bunch of different places in Florida. So they're all around, but I'm gonna start south and kind of work north. But Versailles in Miami, it's like the best Cuban restaurant in the United States, probably. It's also reasonably priced, and it's one of those places where you go, it's real classic, and it's got pictures of like Bill Clinton and like Obama and other presidents, like I don't know, eating a hot dog there or whatever. But it's so classic, it's so pretty, and there's like diner food, but there's also amazing Cuban food. That's Versailles in Miami. Um, I lived in St. Augustine for a while. Shout out Sarbez. That's a really cool spot, venue. Nobby's as well. But especially Sarbez is a sick spot. But anyways, in St. Augustine, there's a food truck called Crave, which I'm pretty sure on like Yelp, it's still like the top rated restaurant and has been for like years running in St. Augustine, even though there's a lot of really fancy places. It's just like a vegan food truck that rocks. Um, I lived in Jacksonville for a little. Oh, actually, Gainesville, where they host Fest. If you
I'm
ever
going
go
to
to,
my I'm going to my
yeah.
first fest this year, so
Oh,
this is important for me.
yeah. Well, in the area, you're absolutely going to run into Flacco's, which is probably the most affordable spot and open incredibly late. I think uh, the back is open incredibly late, and they have amazing burritos, really good vegan options. I'm not necessarily vegan, but their food is too good to pass up. It's awesome. That's Flacco's in Gainesville. There's also Karma Cream, but that's a little bit outside of the like fest area. It's kind of outside of downtown. Anyways, um, in terms of home is where lore, in Palm Coast, there's a place called Sammy J's where the band has met basically ever since the inception of the band in 2017. And it's just a little classic American diner. It's I think on their window it says Florida's best Boston diner. But I don't know, it's a cute little diner, and we've taken a lot of like photos there, and like even filmed parts of music videos there. Like parts of Yes Yes are actually filmed in the diner. Um,
I gotta know as a masshole what a Boston diner is.
I don't know, um, but it's really just a diner. I don't know what makes it Boston. Maybe Samuel Jamiel is from Boston. I don't know. Uh, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's also very cheap. It rocks. In Tallahassee, Florida, in the Panhandle, there's a vegan restaurant that's also a venue called The Bark. And The Bark is delicious and super cool. And when I used to help put together a charity festival that was like statewide for like called Snip Fest for like paying for like surgeries for trans youth and also like name changes and stuff like that. And I booked a show at the Bark, and it turned out to be Ethel Kane's first show. I booked Ethel Kane's first show at the Bark in Tallahassee. Before that, she went by White Silas, and she was super cool.
Crazy
Um,
fucking lord to just drop in the middle of the restaurant list. I'm
yeah,
This is working out so much better than I ever thought it possibly could.
yeah. Um, sorry, going back to South Florida, there's a place called Flanagan's, which is it's a chain, but uh, I feel like it's the most classic Florida restaurant in on this list. Anybody who lives in Florida probably has like a souvenir Flanagan's cup. The face of the guy, Dan Flanagan, is on the cup, and he kind of looks a little bit like Stalin, which is crazy. Um, so the cup looks like Florida propaganda, and it's pretty silly. It's pretty wild. Let's see. Domu in Jacksonville. That is a ramen spot that I was going to for a while when I lived in Jacksonville, and then after I moved, they ended up earning a Michelin star, so they deserve it. Place rocks. Trap House Chicken in Jacksonville. It's like acronym is THC, and they are just the best chicken you'll ever have if you're a blood mouth like me, meat eater. Uh, Thirsty Turtle is my childhood spot because I'm from Port St. Lucie, and I don't know, it rocks. It's a family spot. Nacho Taco in Jacksonville. It's a really good place to go if you're a band who needs a lot of food for very little money in Jacksonville. And yeah, I think that's every place. And they're all really good, and I would go to them every chance I could.
That's fucking sick. You talk about like Florida being like the Australia of the US. In terms
Yeah.
of like wildlife and everything, you've very much given that energy in terms of the food as well. I'm excited to be able to hopefully go through. Yeah, I ain't scared. I'll go through the state of Florida and just be able to try all of these things. Maybe like a little bit after Fest weekend, just have a time to like go through the rest of the state and try everything out.
I think something that's really important to note about any time, people might be scared to go to these more rural places is that there are trans people that live there, and they typically, unlike more urban, like let's say New York or New York City or someplace like that, where there's so many that there's kind of less urgency to form community. There's an intense amount of community in Florida. Like almost every trans person knows each other in Florida. So there's a lot of while there's not that many, there's also like strength in it's like a strength in numbers kind of thing where everybody supports each other very, very directly. So, uh, really, I mean, anywhere you go, if you ever feel like you're alone, you're not alone, and you'll probably run into if you go to the right spaces, you'll probably run into very, very nice and open-hearted people. But I would avoid, Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, but besides that, you're probably fine. And
And
Harley Davidson.
that's really the lesson that we can take away from all of that, isn't it? Is to avoid Margaritaville. Tilly, it has been so wonderful talking to you. Hunting Season, the new album by Homoswear on Wax Bodega Record, comes out May 23rd. Hunting Season, it's going to be, I've listened to it. It's fantastic. I'm so excited. You guys are going to be touring over the summer. I'm going to once again see you guys at Coachella. Very stoked for that one. Where can people find the band and where can people find you?
We're on the internet. Uh, you know, um, if you Google Home is Where, I'm sure we'll pop up. I think Taylor Swift did a song that says Home is Where, so you might see her first, but go to the second page. We're probably there. You'll find us.
You can find them on the second page, Googling Home is Where, or you can find links to all of their stuff in the description down below. You can also find links to all of my stuff in the description down below, all of the Cuddlepunk podcast stuff in the description down below. If you'd like if you like this episode, please leave a like, please leave a comment, please subscribe if you really like, that really helps out. If you really want to help support, you can go to the Cuddlepunk Podcast Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Cuddlepunk Podcast. The theme song for the Cuddlepunk Podcast is Lose a Turn by Maude Stout of SPLITJAW. You can find all of SPLITJAW stuff in the description down below. The logo for the Cuddlepunk Podcast is done by Lauren Young. You can find her Instagram in the description down below. Tilly, thank you so much for being on this episode of the show. It has been wonderful. I'm very excited to see everybody's reaction to the record and to meet all of y'all in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Please say hi. I'm excited to.